Hey, welcome back. So I just decided I'm only gonna do one more video today because I already have a huge backlog and oops. Well, I hate when I do that. Where am I? Cancel. Cancel. Okay. What's the run button? Oh, there it is. Let's buy some Pokeballs. Okay, so this was a note I was talking about yesterday. Let's buy some stuff. Buying's good. $1,000. Thanks, Joe Biden, for inflation. Pokeball for $1,000. I remember 5 years ago, you could get a dozen Pokeballs for $5. Okay, this is the note. I am grateful that I will never be, I know this. I mean, it's hard to say this, and I might never have kids anyway, but I will never be the parent who's like, oh man, like my kids are making me, or like taking me away from fun stuff. I can't play video games anymore because of my kids. I can't go to the movies anymore because of my kids. Like if I had had a kid when I was 23 or something, I would definitely feel that way. And that's why I'm grateful that like I have social anxiety and I didn't ever have a girlfriend and I never had a kid. There are those people, and I feel like those people exist because, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but I'm gonna give you one. They don't have a period like me where they have like depression and they're like, I don't like doing anything and video games are stupid. I spend so much time playing video games and it doesn't mean anything. And watching TV doesn't mean anything. I feel like, and maybe this is like generalizing, of course it is, but in my mind there's like these people who just go through life and they're like, oh, they get sad sometimes, and oh, they get happy sometimes, but they never have that kind of like meaninglessness, depression, until maybe like a midlife crisis or something. And so they're just like kind of going through life. Oh, I'm going to a party. Oh, I'm going out with a girlfriend. Oh, I'm going to the movies with friends. And they're like doing all these things, and then all of a sudden they like have a kid when or they get married or something, and they're like still doing everything that they want to do. Oh, I'm gonna get married, and oh, we're gonna have a honeymoon, and oh, we're gonna have a kid, that's gonna be fun. And then the kid comes and it takes up 99% of all their time, and they're like, no, wait a minute, I'm only 28 years old and I want to go on a hike and I want to go to Hawaii and I can't do this stuff because of my kid. It's hard to say, never. But it's going to be harder for me to think that way. And I won't say who, but like somebody at my work kind of did that. Like she was working from home and her kid was there, and she kind of like made a comment like, oh, these kids, they're always bothering me or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, kids are annoying, obviously. Like sometimes you just want to go to sleep and they're like jumping on you. But I'll never have the thought that like, this came up in some other time, I forget why I was thinking about this, but like someone was like, oh, I want to do all the things, but my kids, and they kind of make a joke about it, like, oh, you know how it is when you got kids, you can't be happy, basically. Like, I can't do the things I used to because I have kids. And I'm like, wait a minute. What were you doing before? You were watching TV, you were playing video games. That was nothing. So, like, I'm not gonna miss it. Like, if I never play video games for the next 5 years because I have a kid or something, I'm not gonna miss it. Because first of all, I've been playing video games my whole life. It's like too much with the video games already. I shouldn't say this on like a video game channel, but it's kind of funny. Yeah, too much with the video games already. But I love Pokemon. I love it. But like, come on. Like, it makes me kind of happy to, but like, it doesn't make me so happy that, like, I don't see the depression was there because you were playing video games and you had no meaning. If I had a kid, what was the note? If I ever have a kid, I won't regret all the video games I haven't played. I've played enough for 2 lifetimes. A lot of people go right from video games to family, and they don't have this period like me where I'm like, life is nothing. That's a gift I plan to use later. Then when those people have kids, they resent them for what they took away. My kids would never take anything away from me that's worth any value. It's a nice way to put it. I'm glad I read that note. That's a nice way to put it. Like, if I ever had, like, I do feel like a lot of parents can resent their kids for like, oh, you took away, like, I was a great opera singer, and then I put it on the shelf to be a parent. What did I put on the shelf to be a parent? I always need a job, but like, they're not gonna take anything away from me, ever. And I feel like that's kind of why I should be a parent. But I don't know. That's still like at least like 10 years away from me anyway. You gotta get a 3rd date first. You gotta get 1 match from the matchmaker. The matchmaker. I emailed the matchmaker yesterday and I was like, alright, it's been 3 weeks. You got a match? And she didn't respond yet. Oh boy, what are you gonna do? It's $1,000 down the drain. I knew it was a waste of money, but whatever. I spent $1,000 to know, like, hey, matchmakers, it's not the way to go. So we just gotta try something else. I don't know what else to do, but if I knew what else to do, I wouldn't have tried this matchmaker thing. Frustrating, but we'll get there. Yeah, I might as well spend the whole day talking about this note, even though I have a lot of other notes. Oh, did I go over? Wow. Oh, no. I just wrote them the wrong time. I have 3 more minutes. I started writing a short story. I have to tell you about that. I've never written anything creatively since high school. I did one thing where I did an Owl City bracket tournament. That was like the most creative thing I've done in the past 15 years. But I haven't written creatively since high school. So I'm awful at it, of course. And I'm comparing my writing to like Sherlock Holmes and Tolstoy. And like, okay, obviously it's not gonna be as good as that. The hardest thing to me about writing is like thinking, and this is obviously the thing that kind of separates the awesome writers from the me's, is like descriptive language. Obviously, like describing people's thoughts and how they interact with people and their emotions, like the twinges of the different shades of emotions you can have and reactions to things. And like if I say something, how does the other person react? It's all important to say, and it's hard to know how to say it if you're not like a writer and writing every day, which I'm not. So I think I should try not to Like when I started writing this story yesterday, and Dalton, if you're watching, I hope you're watching because I need your help with this story. It's a therapeutic thing. I'm not going to share it with anybody, probably. I need to just write it like me and not like try to write like Tolstoy, or because that's kind of what I was doing. And I was kind of doing it, but it's like, no, don't do it like that. Do it like you. Just do it like, I mean, it's gonna sound stupid, but you're stupid, so you gotta be who you are. I don't know. Oh no! I think I might kill him. I think I might kill him. Come on, get him. Oh yeah, okay, I thought I missed. Got him. I thought about doing a Nuzlocke, but that would be ridiculous. I'd have to pay attention. It'd be so stressful. Gotta be. So, okay, I'll finish this battle and then I'll be done. So the story, I really like the premise, the idea of the story. I think it's like a really good idea. It's a funny idea, but like actually writing it is hard. So I've been reading Sherlock Holmes, and actually I started watching Monk, the TV show about a detective with OCD. And I had the idea, and I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, like, and part of it was also something that they mentioned in the Besties group that made me think about, like, writing a story about myself. I started to think, like, wouldn't it be funny if there was, like, a Monk show, but instead of OCD, he used social anxiety to solve crimes. So I had that idea, and I'm like, I'm gonna freaking do that. I'm gonna write a story, like a Sherlock Holmes. The cool thing about Sherlock Holmes stories is they're all, like, really short. They're like, on the audiobook, they're like an hour to 45 minutes. So I'm like, oh, I could write a little story like that about social anxiety detective. So I put a lot of thought into it, about like what would actually be a good way to do this and all this stuff. So my idea turned into, I'm gonna write from the perspective of a detective who doesn't have social anxiety. He's like super confident, like everybody in the police force. Like there's gonna be somebody in the police force who has social anxiety. No policeman has social anxiety. I mean, you can kind of do a Monk thing and say like, oh, he's gonna be a consultant, but I didn't want to do that, because that's just like copying Monk. So I decided to do, I'm gonna write from the first person's perspective of a detective who's like super confident, and like he wants to be the greatest detective in the world, but he's struggling because in this modern age, like, crime is starting to be different. People are acting weird. They're staying home all the time and they're not answering their doors. And so all the things that he studied about crime, like, they're like changing, and he's not being as good as he wants to be. So then there's like this inciting incident where one of his friends dies, and the brother of the friend is me. It's a social anxiety person. I thought that would be fun to like write from the perspective of somebody else viewing a social anxiety person from someone who doesn't have social anxiety. And I'm thinking like, what do they think about people like me? And then I could also, like, what I think about normal people, because I'm going to be writing the thoughts of a normal person. Like, what do they think about? That would be, and that's just going to be funny. Just like that kind of irony of a person who has social anxiety writing the thoughts of like and being like, oh, everything's perfect and nothing bad's ever gonna happen. And being like, why is everybody all worried all the time? I don't understand. Why didn't he just answer his door when the mailman came? And then so, oh, I forgot I'm gonna end. That's it. So it's really hard because I have to actually think of like an interesting mystery, and I don't know what the mystery is yet. I think I'm gonna work backwards from like, think about social anxiety things, like clues, like, oh, he didn't answer his door when the mailman came. And then the detective's gonna be like, oh, maybe that's because he was hiding, or maybe that's because he was already dead. And then I would be like, well, no, he just didn't answer his door because he has social anxiety. I don't know, something like that. And the me person helps solve the crime of my brother's death. And then through that, we have an adventure, and it's open for a series. I don't know, that's stupid. Like, oh, they can go on more adventures because he's like, the detective was like, oh, that's the thing I'm missing. That's the missing piece of like me. Like, I can't solve crimes because I don't understand social anxiety people. And there's so many of them now. Everybody is acting on this social anxiety impulse to like not do things that I just don't understand, and so I can't solve crimes. Nobody in the police force can solve crimes because we don't understand these people. And so like I help him solve like a crime, and it puts his name like on the map or something as like a good detective, and so he comes to me for help or something. I don't know, that sounds so stupid. But I think it's funny, and I'm going to try to do it. And I mentioned it in the besties group so that like I could be held accountable to do that, because I think it would be fun. But it's really hard to write. I wrote like a page yesterday, and I think I'm going to rewrite it because I want it to be kind of funnier and more ironic and less straight. I was writing it pretty straight, like, oh, I'm the protagonist, and I want to be a detective. But I need to put more into the irony of like, he's super confident, and he's kind of like a doof. Like, he's so unaware of other people. I need to put more of that into the beginning of the story. I don't know, but it's fun to think about that stuff. Anyway, too long. See you tomorrow.